Hi, Jonathan Schrager here for Stretty News TV. I'm joined today by former Manchester United goalkeeper Raymond van der Gouw, who represented the club between 1996-2002. First of all, Raymond, how's it going today?
Really well. I'm working at a very nice club, and they are very ambitious, and we have good facilities, and it's nice to work with the staff where I am in now. Yeah.
And obviously before we started the interview, you sort of gave me a little tour here of the new kind of complex at Vitesse. Very impressive, and obviously you've now been goalkeeping coach here for a few years as well. So you're settling in nicely, and it looks like the club's moving forward.
Yeah, that's correct. So when I came here, we had a very old accommodation. It was not a nice place to work, but now with the new accommodation, it's really good. Especially in Holland, it's like perfect. Yeah. And every time when you come here, you know, you have the feeling of, yeah, I want to go to work. I want to do, you know, good things with football.
Yes. And sort of, I don't know if the people can see here because we've got a curtain up, but the weather doesn't look too dissimilar to Manchester. It's a slightly grey tinge outside.
Yeah, well, it's the time of the year. You can compare the weather Manchester with Holland, and the only thing is, I think in Manchester it's raining a little bit more. That's the difference. But for the rest, the temperature quite similar. The hours of sun is quite similar. Right. Only the rain is a little bit more in Manchester.
We get the rain as a bonus.
Yes.
Okay, so obviously just to discuss your career at United then. Obviously very illustrious, and you won a few trophies as well during your time there. But just to start off with, when you first arrived at the club, you were already quite, shall we say, mature in age. I believe you arrived at the club when you were 33. Was it 32?
Yeah.
32. Can you just talk me through the process of, you've been playing for Vitesse for a number of years, and do you remember when you first learnt about the fact that Sir Alex and Manchester United were interested in you coming to the club?
Well, to be honest, I didn't expect that I would go to Manchester United. First of all, I always had a desire to play in England, and my last contract at Vitesse Arnhem, I signed a contract for 5 years. So I thought, I'm not going to England anymore. Right. So I thought, but I was still in my mind, hopefully something comes up. And in a certain way, yeah, I've been lucky. Somebody called me, it was an agent, and he said, I have a club for you. And he didn't say directly it was Man United, but when I arrived in England, he told me, and after that it went very quick, and it was just like that, and I signed for United.
Yeah. And at the time, obviously, United had someone who's widely regarded as maybe the best goalkeeper of all time, in Peter Schmeichel. When you arrived at the club, did you arrive knowing essentially that you would be the understudy to Peter?
I knew that Peter Schmeichel was the number one, absolutely. I knew my role as well, that's what they've told me. But I thought also, well, you never know how it goes in football. Yeah. A couple of years before, I said to my wife, I would love to see how, because I saw Peter Schmeichel a lot of times on the television, and I thought, I would love to see how he works, what is he doing, all kinds of things like that. Yeah. And then I got the opportunity to go to Man United and working with him. Yeah. So I thought, yes, this is my chance, I go for it, and I will see how it goes. And in football, you never know how it will go. Maybe you will play a lot of games, maybe not. I thought, okay, I go for it. Yeah. And I went, and at the end, it was fantastic.
Absolutely, decision vindicated. 2 Premier League medals and a Champions League, FA Cup. Not bad career there. But I was going to say, so you've kind of just alluded to it there. So you arrive at the club, you're already 32 at the time, but it kind of, shall we say, it attests to the old saying that you can always learn. It seems like Peter was already on your radar. You went there and you still were able to kind of soak up the knowledge from Peter, even as a goalkeeper at 32 and with so much experience.
Yes, absolutely. Always in my mind was, you're never too old to learn. So every day you can learn, and even when you're getting older, there is always something in the game where you can learn something. And of course I was looking at Peter Schmeichel, how he was working, how he was playing, and it was also for myself a new experience to play in England, because it's a different game, it goes faster, it's stronger. And the other thing is you don't have a winter break. In Holland we always have a winter break, so there were a lot of things you still can learn even when you're like me, 32 or older.
And you might be reluctant to disclose some of the things you've learned, because obviously you're now imparting that knowledge onto young goalkeepers here at Vitesse. But what was it you said that before you went to see Peter, you were very curious to see how he worked? When you actually arrived at Manchester and you saw him training and operating, what was it you could take from that?
Well, Peter was first of all very good goalkeeper, but he was strong. He had a desire to win every game, even in training, and he wanted to be, the boss in the box. And it was very good to see how he was preparing, how he was focused, all these things, because that's something what you have to know when you want to play in the top. What do people expect from you? And there's a lot of pressure when you play for Man United, because everybody expects that you will win every game. Yeah. So how do you deal with this pressure? Yeah. If you make a mistake, how will you do it the next time? How do you cope with that? And it was really interesting.
Okay, so the psychological aspect as much as the physical and the goalkeeping aspect.
Yeah, it's a combination of both things. You need the physiques to do all these things, but you need also to be very mentally very strong.
Yeah, absolutely. So you also served as a goalkeeping coach as well during your time at United when you arrived there.
Correct.
I was going to say, which goalkeepers that were coming through the system, the kind of youth system and what have you at the time, were the ones that you were primarily working with?
Well, when I came there, we had a goalkeeping coach who came one time in a week, and he had to do all the goalkeepers. And this is already a long time ago. Yeah. So times has been changed. So when he left, I took his position. But then the manager found out, that will be too much to be the goalkeeper of the first team and to do also the goalkeeping sessions for the academy. Yeah. So he brought in a goalkeeping coach full time, and that was Tony Coton. Yeah, he played for United as well. So after that, my role changed as well. I worked with a few young goalkeepers. One of them was Kevin Pilkington, another was Nick Colkin. Yeah. So all these goalkeepers came through the academy, yeah. But most of them didn't play a lot of games for the first team.
I was going to say, because Kevin Pilkington, I remember he played a couple of times. I think Nick Colkin as well, yes. A couple of times. But I remember, it's fascinating when you say it there that up until maybe 98 or 99, United didn't have a full-time goalkeeping coach, in the sense of someone that was only coming in once a week maybe. Mm-hmm. So that's fascinating to think that, yeah. Even at United up until that time.
Yeah, that was in 96. So I can't remember when Tony Coton came in exactly. I think
he returned in 98, 99 or something?
Something like that, yeah. So yeah, things were changing, and I thought that's really good, because that's something what you need. And if you look at these days, I think a goalkeeper is very important for the team. Yeah. Also, in the past was the same, but now there's more attention for the goalkeeper, yeah. And a goalkeeper needs also a goalkeeping coach where he can talk about things, can talk about tactical things, yeah. And also work on a lot of things. So yeah, you can see the football was changing when I came. Yeah. There were, now I have to say it right, I think there were 5 subs.
Okay, yes.
Before I came, it was only 3 subs.
Yes.
So most of the time before I came, there were only 3 outfield players on the bench. Yeah. So when I came, there was always a goalkeeper on the bench. Yeah. So a lot of things has been changed in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a question that all if anyone met you, I think, as a Manchester United fan, a question that they would all want to ask you is the night in Barcelona, the treble night. Seen pictures of yourself lifting the trophy aloft. Can you even articulate? Can you put it into words? And I know what it meant to all the fans, but how special that was. I mean, is there any words you can use to even describe it?
Well, it's a very easy question. It's very hard, very difficult to explain. It's so special that you even can't find the right words for it. Yeah. I think if I can just go back a little bit into the season, we had a very good season, and a lot of times we won the games in the last part of the game, the last 20-15 minutes. And it went the whole season through like that. It was also even the semi-final of the FA Cup against Arsenal when Ryan Giggs scored an incredible goal. It was the last part. It was in extra time. Yeah. The last game of the Premier League was against Tottenham. We came 1-0 down and came back with 2-1. Yeah. That was the first step. Then we played the FA Cup final.
That might have been the easiest of the 3 games in the end, because it was 2-0, quite comfortable.
Maybe you can say that afterwards, but it didn't feel like that. But and then the last game was like the whole season came together, 1-0 down. You wouldn't expect we will change the game, and then 5 minutes before the end, well, everybody has seen it, 1-1, and in the same. Well, was it extra time? Was it 2-1? Yeah. So the structure was, the last part of the game was the most important part of the game the whole season, and it was incredible. So if you come back to winning the treble, winning the Champions League, that's something amazing. Everybody was looking forward that maybe you could win it, and it has been such a long time that they won the Champions League after the first time. So for the energy with everything, it's still difficult to describe. I mean, if a fan would be there, he would feel it. It would be difficult to describe it. And that's a little bit the same for me, but it was like, wow, a big party afterwards.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to be there behind the goals where we scored the 2 goals. The United fans mainly were behind that goal, the best place. And I wanted to say, at times like that, obviously you were watching from the bench. At times like that, does professionalism go out the window? Do you become, almost because you're watching it, like the fans, do you lose control as well?
Yeah, you can say that. I mean, the first goal, everybody's so excited. I mean, 1-0 down, 5 minutes to go, and 1-1. Everybody's jumping out of the dugout and jumping to the players. Yeah. And so we went back. I was nearly just sitting there again, and I had to jump out again. I've never been so quick out of the dugout. I mean, wow. So, yeah, well, what can you say?
Do you remember, maybe having watched the video back, do you remember who you went to embrace at the time? Did you go straight for Peter?
We went, well, I went straight to all the players. I think it was Solskjaer who scored the second goal, of Teddy Sheringham. No, Solskjaer was it, I think. Yeah. And so everyone was running straight. All together there, I was sprinting and I just jumped, and I thought, oh shit, that was a jump high for myself. I thought, just bam, and that's it. And after that, I don't know how many minutes we had to play, but it's just gone like that, and everybody was just celebrating on the pitch.
And do you have any recollection of the ensuing party that night, and also returning to Manchester to hundreds of thousands of people in the street? Was it all a blur? Did it go so quick?
Yes, it went quick, and no, a lot of things are still in my mind. I expected a few people outside waiting for us, yes, but I never expect a crowd, so many people shouting. When we went through Deansgate, that was amazing. So many people shouting, screaming, and the noise, it's still in my mind. So when we arrived at the end of Deansgate, we went to the arena there. Can't remember. Anyway, the noise was, my ears were still, you know, like, wow, still like the sound was still there. Yeah. It was, well, I never had an experience like that, and I have the feeling, well, the celebration was so special for everybody that you don't get that so quick again.
And one of the curious things about that season for yourself personally was obviously you won the medal, the Champions League medal, you won the FA Cup medal, but due to lack of appearances in the Premier League, you didn't get the whole collection, the treble collection. Obviously, we know that subsequently you went on to win a Premier League medal in 2000, 2001, but when you look back, is it a bit of a source of frustration when you look at the medal collection and think it would have been nice to have all three, or is it just one of those things?
Well, the thing is you need 10 appearances to get a medal, and in the beginning, I think it was my first season, Ferguson came to me, everybody gets a medal at Raimond, you don't get a medal, but you will get a medal from the club.
Right.
So I can't remember how it was in '99, but one thing is sure, I can't remember which season it was, but I got a special medal made for me because we won the Premier League. And afterwards I found out the people who are responsible for the medals who were making it. We got good friends with that person. That person told me, Raimond, your medal costed more money than the average of the other medals because it has been made specially for you. I thought, wow, okay, okay, this one is really special. So yes, of course, you always wanted to look back and you think, I wish I would have had more minutes from the other side. Okay, that was the situation. I've been really lucky. They had a big part of it because every time I was on the bench, I trained every time really hard. I was a part of the team, and that's the way I felt. Okay, maybe I didn't get the medal, but I got a special one, and I felt really part of the whole squad. So it is yes and no.
I'm with you, I understand. So when Peter left the club in '99, obviously, you know, you were kind of the deputy for Peter, if we can call you that, for the first couple of years. At that time, did you think at that stage that you would then go on to, what was your mindset when he left? Was it, okay, now I will go on to become the first choice keeper?
Well, I was hoping that I would be the first goalkeeper, but I know also my situation. I was not 20 or 25 anymore. So if you play for a big club, of course, there will be another goalkeeper who would come in. And that could have been anyone, and that's the same for a striker. There's not only one striker; there will be two strikers. The same with defenders. So in my situation, it's the same. So I thought, okay, we will see how it goes. I do everything I can do. I give everything. So later I can look back in the mirror and say, have you done everything? Yes, I've done everything. And if you play a lot of games, then it was going really well. Then it's fine. And if I look back, I played more games than the other goalkeeper, Bosnich, who came in. So you can say, yeah, I was the number one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I was going to say, from your kind of perspective of a goalkeeping coach as well, between Peter Schmeichel and actually your countryman Edwin van der Sar, aside from yourself, people could say, well, we never quite filled the goalkeeping role. Obviously, it was always going to be a big role to fill after Peter left. But were there any goalkeepers you mentioned before that you'd helped coach, Pilkington and Culkin? Obviously, you would have played alongside Bosnich, Barthez. I think Roy Carroll came in as well the last year you were there. Was it a surprise to you that none of those keepers sort of went on to consolidate and solidify the position? And in the end, obviously, sort of Edwin came, and it was him that managed to do it.
Well, everybody knows how Peter Schmeichel was, and to replace him, well, you have to be from a different level. And you could see that the club was struggling to find somebody. And when they had Fabian Barthez, I thought, yeah, he is good enough. He's from a special quality, and his first season was fantastic. His second season was a little bit, ups and downs, and the third season, the manager thought it was not good enough for Man United. It was not consistent enough. So after that, I think who came in Roy Carroll took it over, and from Everton, the goalkeeper from Everton.
Oh yeah, Tim Howard.
Tim Howard, yeah. I didn't work with him, so I can't say anything about him. But in the beginning, it was okay. But for the long term, it seems to be that the manager was not happy enough with him.
Yeah.
So they were still looking for the right goalkeeper.
Is it true that the kind of rumour was at the time that Fabian was quite, apart from being a bit of a character, was quite fond of playing outfield? Some people said that he would even want to train at times and be the striker. Was he distracted sometimes?
No, Barthez is Barthez. I mean, yes, he likes to play like an outfield player, but he was really serious. I mean, come on, he won the Champions League, he won the World Cup, he won the European Cup. So you can't say that somebody with so many trophies is really good. But sometimes, you know, it seems to be there should be a click between the players, between the team, and at that time maybe it was not the right structure for him.
Okay. I was just thinking maybe because obviously when he came to United, maybe he'd already won quite a lot, and I'm not saying players become maybe less ambitious or hungry, but you know, I don't know, that was just one of the rumours at the time, and I was always curious about that.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I think it was just the way it went. Yeah. It was just not enough for a long term. Yeah. And I think Alex Ferguson saw that. That's why he changes. That's why he was looking for something else as well.
Yeah. And I was going to say, okay, so your last game for United was Charlton at Old Trafford, I believe. You were 39, and I don't know if you know this, but you actually became the oldest player to represent United. I don't know if this is something you're going to be proud of because the oldest player, but anyway, still great. Yeah. Well, you were the oldest player to represent United since the end of World War II. At that time, can you guess the person who has beat that since?
Van der Sar?
There you go. Yeah, so there we go. Yeah, because when he retired after the Champions League final 2011, I believe he was 40. So he beat you by 1 year. So you'll have to speak to him next time. But 2 questions. First of all, what are you Dutch goalkeepers putting in your sandwiches for the longevity? And second of all, presumably from the goalkeeping network in Holland, you will know Edwin beforehand. Did you ever speak to Edwin before he made the decision to go to Old Trafford? Did you advise him to go as well?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't speak about Man United. Not that I can remember. I mean, it's not so difficult if you play for Fulham and you get the chance to play for Man United. Hey, come on. Yeah. He went from Juventus to Fulham in England. He knows the game at that time. And if you have the possibility to go to Man United, then, I mean, who would say no?
Yeah. No, I was just thinking potentially that, like you say, it's not a hard sell, is it? It's not a hard sell to go to United. I just wondered if he'd consulted you beforehand or anything, that was all. No. And I suppose a question similarly as well, because there's been so many Dutch players since, well, no, Arnold, funny enough, someone I interviewed yesterday, Arnold Muren, your countryman, was the first Dutch player to play in England and the first to play for United. Since then, there's been an influx of Dutch players really through the decades to United, especially recently. Yeah. Did any of them, after you were there, so for example the Ruud van Nistelrooys, the Jaap Stams, and especially Alexander Butner, because I know he played here before he went to United, did any of them consult you before going and say, listen, Raimond, I've been approached by United, is it a good fit for myself or as a fellow Dutchman?
Yeah. No, I'm thinking about Ruud van Nistelrooy, Alex Butner, Jaap Stam. No. They all were players who played already at the top level in Holland. I mean, Jaap Stam played for PSV, Ruud van Nistelrooy played for PSV. I mean, if you can make the step from PSV to Man United, it's a big step, still a big step, but those players did it really, really well. And no, they didn't ask me anything before. No, I don't think that's necessary.
Okay. No, I just thought maybe they'd draw upon your experience, you know, if they would fit in Manchester and such like, you know.
No. When they signed for the club, then I helped them, of course. I mean, if you're Dutch and the other people, the other players are Dutch, then you talk to each other and then you talk about where do you live, what are you doing, all these things. What's the best place to eat, to go to a restaurant, where do you do shopping, all these things. But that's normal. I think that's normal.
Yeah. So you told Ruud and Jaap where to go and buy their steaks, for example.
If they needed it, yes, I told them, yeah.
Okay, that's fantastic. I was going to ask as well, just when you look back at your United career as a whole, I believe it was 61 competitive appearances you made for the club. I believe that's the figure I've read anyway. Maybe you might know a different figure, but in that ballpark, what was your fondest memory in terms of, was there a specific game, a specific save that you look back on? Probably maybe that fans will remember as well, but what is it that you look back most fondly on?
Oh, it's difficult to have just one game. I mean, I have a few games in my mind. One of them was against Dortmund away. Okay, we lost the semi-final.
Yes. Schmeichel got injured in the warm-up.
Yeah.
Remember it.
It was not an easy game, but I think I did really well. The game against Valencia. So I think it was the semi-final or was it the quarter-final? I think it was the quarter-final, home at Old Trafford.
Yeah.
Really, even we lost against Real Madrid.
Yeah.
It was special.
Yeah.
And for the rest, special games.
Was there a save in particular where you went back in the dressing room afterwards and maybe a teammate or Sir Alex said, how the bloody hell did you manage to keep that out?
Yeah. Well, I had a few saves, yes, but they didn't say that. Well, a few players said a couple of times there was a great save and a few other things, but I can't pronounce that when it exactly was. No.
Right.
Then I have to go back. It's a long time ago.
I'll tweet you about that and see if we can find out which one you're thinking of. Okay, just a couple more questions now. You played under a manager who is widely regarded as possibly the best of all time, if not certainly one of the best of all time, Sir Alex. I always ask players when I speak to them, ex-players that played under Sir Alex, what's their abiding memory of him? Was there any particular memories you have of Sir Alex or things that he did that you just always stand out for you?
I want to ask you the question. What is the general structure of what the players said?
What the players say? Generally, the characteristic most players point out is that they always say he was always very personable. He was always interested in you, your family. He always knew your family's names. So he always tried to make a connection with you and take an interest in your life. So they say that was always very special for them.
I agree with that. I would say Ferguson had two faces. One is the family face and the other one is the football face. Yeah. And it's absolutely right. He was it also to me. He knows my family, you know how my private situation was. But from the other side, he was the manager, he was the boss, and he knows exactly what he wanted to do. And you have to give everything in the football to win games, to win the league, to win something. And his determination, he set it on the players.
Yeah.
So those two things, that's right. It's interesting and great. That for myself, I thought it was a fantastic experience.
And were you ever on the receiving end of one of his infamous, they called it hairdryer treatments in the British press?
I know what you mean. He didn't do it to me. I've seen it. I've heard it in the dressing room. I won't say which player it was, but it was yeah.
Yes. No. Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. No. And I wanted to ask about your best friends during your time at the club. I think there's maybe a common perception amongst fans maybe that goalkeepers, they just stick together. So obviously you were there with Peter, so you're Peter's roommate. You're then Fabian Barthez's roommate or Bosnich's roommate. Is that necessarily the case? And if so, who was your roommate? Who did you get very friendly with?
Ooh, I've had different roommates. In the beginning was Jordi Cruijff.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
We came at the same time. I get on really well with Jesper Blomqvist and Ronnie Johnson. Yeah. At a few couple of times I had shared a room with Eric Cantona.
Eric.
Yeah, and Brian McClare was interesting as well.
Yeah. Intelligent guy, apparently, very intelligent.
Yes, he was nice, but intelligent and special. He was already for a long time there, so it was for me interesting to hear some stories from him, how it works at the club. So it was really kind of him, and I really appreciated that. Who else? Well, these names are the first couple names that comes up in my mind. Yeah.
Yeah. And
because later, everybody was having their own room. So in the beginning we had sharing a room, and after that everybody had his own room.
You touched upon a name there that is legendary amongst Manchester United fans, and it would be negligent if I don't ask you about Eric Cantona. You say you shared a room with him, and he's one of these characters that just captivated the imagination of all football fans, really. What was he? Is there anything you can tell us about Eric from behind the scenes? Maybe an insight into him from sharing a room with him. Did he have OCD? Did he have to have the soap in a particular area? Was there something about Eric that, the genius?
No. And if that would be the case, I won't tell you anyway. It has to be a genius, and after this, it still has to be a genius. No, Eric was. He has personality. He knows what he wanted. He was very kind. He's very good for his teammates, and you have seen it on the pitch. He has special quality. Yeah. You can say, okay, he's a good player, but he brings something extra, and that's the difference with top players. And he shows it. He showed it every time. Yeah. And that's in a certain way a genius.
Yeah. Did you foresee him when you arrived at the club? Did you foresee it seemed quite sudden to the fans when he left the season after you arrived? I think you only had one season with him. Yeah. Obviously retired in May '97. Did you foresee it coming, or was it literally spontaneous as it was to the fans?
Well, I didn't expect that he would stop at the end of the season of 1997. I had the feeling he could play on a few more years. So I was surprised and I was disappointed as well, because it was a very nice person as well next to the football. Yeah. So no, I didn't see it coming that he would quit that season already.
Yeah. And you mentioned as well Jordi Cruijff. Jordi is someone, obviously we all know Jordi's father was a footballing legend, never mind Dutch footballing legend. Do you think, he only lasted a short time at United, but was there always a lot of pressure on him to succeed his father?
Well, there is only one Johan Cruyff in the world, and yes, there was of course pressure on Jordi's shoulders, but he was a very, very good player, but he was also a little bit unlucky because he had, fantastic players around him. Yeah. Think about David Beckham, Ryan Giggs, Roy Keane, Nicky Butt, all midfielders. Yeah. Then it's difficult, very difficult, to find a place in the team. And when you have the name Cruyff, then you know that people will watch over your shoulder as well. So it was not easy for him. And when he went to United, it was his first time away from home, living abroad. So in the beginning he found it really hard to find the way of living in England, comparing with Spain.
Yes, yeah. I think the biggest testament to yourself as a goalkeeper is the fact that even though essentially I know in the last couple of years that you did you were first choice, especially when Bosnich was there. You played as many games, if not more, than him. But whilst you're at the club, you're essentially the kind of deputy goalkeeper for Peter. But I think the biggest testament to you is that whenever someone was injured and you played, the fans weren't concerned. I think that's always a sign of a good number two, is that when the goalkeeper's injured, it's no one bats an eyelid. It's just carry on as normal. So that was the biggest testament to yourself, that people relied on you, the fans as well. Were you aware they had a song for you? It was only a small song, but you remember they chanted your name?
Yeah, but I can't remember how it was, to be honest. No.
It was Raymond van der Houw, Raymond van der Houw. It's a very simple song, but it was sung with pride.
Yeah. Those. Now I remember. Yeah. Of course. Now I remember. Yeah. I think, what was it? All right. Yeah. It was. I felt it like a big compliment. I always said to myself, all right, if Peter Schmeichel is not playing, when he's injured, whatever, I wanted to be ready when the manager needed me, and I want to be part of the team. And that was the whole time in my mind. I didn't want to complain. I thought, I'm coming from abroad. I have to bring in something extra. Otherwise, they could take somebody else. Yeah. So I didn't want to have that somebody else took my place. Yeah. And the other thing is, when I came to England, most of the time nobody knows who was the number two. Yeah. And I think in a certain way, that's my feeling, it changed a little bit. After when I left Holland, then I saw other goalkeepers wants to move to a big club as well to be the number two. Yeah. And before that, nobody wanted to be the number two at any club. Yeah. So you could see, if you play for a big club, that the number two is important as well, because it's a very responsible place in the team.
And you believe kind of your role then helped maybe others see that the importance?
Yeah, well, you can see now Lindegaard was already for a long time at Man United. Yeah. Who was before him? Kuchak.
Yes. Yeah.
Was there already for a long time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the role I had and the way I put it in, I think it changed a little bit the way the fans, the manager saw the number two spot for a goalkeeper.
Yeah. And when you left United, Roy Keane brought you to Sunderland, someone you played with at United, one of your teammates. Yeah. So you both played alongside Roy, and then you've also coached alongside Roy. Yeah. Another captivating character like Eric Cantona. What can you tell us about Roy? Is there something we don't know about Roy? Because he seems like quite a private man, obviously away from football and the media.
Yeah, I think Roy is clever. I mean, you have Roy as a football player, and you have Roy, the private person. I think he wants to have the situation that's private, that's just football. Yeah. And he was special. He is. Oh, how can I say that? He had really decided to win everything. Yeah. It's a little bit like Ferguson, only when he was then the player on the pitch. Yes. And he was with full fire, and that's the way I like those players. So he was special, and I was really glad that he made a phone call and that he wanted me as a goalkeeping coach.
And Danny Higginbottom said that he was possibly even more intense as a manager in terms of his desire than he was as a player. Is that even possibly true?
I think that's nearly not possible, but the intensity on the pitch was enough already as a player. But he was a kind of person who expect a lot from the players, and when you don't do the things he expected, then he can he can jump on your shoulders.
Yes. Last question, David De Gea. We all know what happened recently, but I'm going to ignore that. Purely as a goalkeeper, your assessment of David De Gea. We all think he's the best in the world, but we're biased as United fans. How good is he?
I think he's one of the best, and I think he will be even better because he's only 24, and he will have more experience. Another 3-4 years, he will be on his top. Also physical. I think Man United should be very happy with him, and I hope that De Gea will stay for another 4 years at United, because he's from a different class.
Raimond, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. Really has. Thanks for the time.
You're welcome.